eye for an eye leaves the whole world blind, and can't even see why, because you're blind. We gotta try love. It's very easy to fall into the dynamic of good versus evil. You know, it's very easy to fall into this idea that there's two teams and we got to support our team. But what's happening there is a unit of division. We need to be team humanity. It needs to be us against the world, not everyone against the world. It should be PvE, not PvP. We got to try love, because it's like, what do we expect to happen to people when we tell them that they don't have a place here, that we don't want to hear their opinion, that we don't care about their side of it? What does it mean when we aren't able to recognize a common goal? It means we're working against each other. And all of this concept of us versus them, of nation, of country, of all these different ways that we're classified. We need to look back historically and recognize that these are ways in which people are manipulated. So much of the information that is solicited is through a very specific lens with subversive and subliminal intention to isolate us and take us away from our communities. The community is the backbone of any understanding of society, of any understanding of civilization. The proliferation of teamwork is what made humans evolve. It's the reason we were able to build these systems and build these civilizations and be able to evolve, be able to have ethics and morals and beliefs and awareness. And with this awareness that we have, we need to recognize that there are very earthly, very basic mechanisms within us. There's instincts that we have that historically and today, will and can be used against us, and that is the value of these frameworks of understanding, a belief system, figuring out a way to navigate the world. But in doing so, we cannot reduce the world into something that is simply easy to understand. The world is extremely complex, and we should recognize that so many of the ways in which we view the world around us are ideas that were given to us via our engagement in culture. And as we recognize these ideas and recognize the ways in which they influence our mood, our way of being, and our understanding of how to navigate our life, the human experience, we must point towards the divinity within and recognize the commonality of all humans in the history of society, with the agreement to work together against suffering, unnecessary death, unnecessary pain, unnecessary hurt and trauma. It's the realest thing, the most true thing that we can strive to work against. Not our brothers, not our sisters who may be in our frame misguided. That is not the enemy. We do not battle against flesh and blood. We battle against principalities. We battle against long-standing generational ideas. We are all responding to the world built by our ancestors. And in that response, we should not be fighting battles against ghosts. We need to take accountability and responsibility that we have the autonomy and we have the ability to change things about the world. And recognizing that is an essential step that culturally we need to take in order to stop looking at the power structures that exist and falling for the idea that, like, politicians believe what they say, falling for the idea that money isn't the motivator of the people in power. Money, influence, resources, access. Like, we should recognize that we are dependent on each other. And we should recognize that a fight, nobody wins. Like, nobody wins when the family feuds. Like, on how many levels are we going to break apart community in order to reaffirm an identity that is the result of other people's ideas? You know, even if we feel very passionate about an idea, we shouldn't allow that to give us a worldview that puts down somebody else. Because if we truly feel as if we have the correct understanding, we should see someone who is misguided or misinformed and see that as the place that needs the most attention. See that as the place that requires the most love. That is where our good nature, hope, faith, and optimism is the most useful and the most important and the most valuable, is to find situations that are unfavorable, that are dark, that are negative, that are leading to suffering, that are leading to unnecessary suffering, and find ways to interject love, to inject love, to resolve the tensions, to ease the pains, to ease the traumas and the differences, and to find the commonalities, to find the resolution, to find the answer that is posed by the question of disagreement. The proposition of differing opinions is a beautiful thing, which we should celebrate and we should engage with openly and innocently and earnestly and honestly, and recognize that there's value in all of these systems and ideas and beliefs that have manifest to our daily life. And where there is power, there is great responsibility. And where there is the value of these powerful ideas, these powerful ideologies, there is also opportunist and capitalist people who capitalize on these things. Capitalism is a good economic system, but we need to recognize where it influences systems outside of economics. There are people who are capitalizing on belief systems and ideas and the ability to classify people into easily identifiable groups and understand how to push their buttons and when to push their buttons in order to maximize the amount of resources, of profit that you're able to extract from that person. The most powerful thing that can happen for a better tomorrow is a hopeful today. And that doesn't mean hopeful that your side and your opinions will reign over all. It is hopeful that we can come to resolve. It is hopeful that the person we disagree with most and ourselves can move an inch towards each other, you know? And there is no end game of pushing each other away. What's the end game there other than war, other than destruction? If we're so quick to ostracize and condemn the people which we disagree with and ascribe to them some sort of wickedness or evil or hatred, what is the end game there other than, you know, violence, other than human versus human, rather than humanity coming together and working together? You know, the end game of acceptance and forgiveness and redemption is grand. The end game of, you know, promoting the idea of redemption and promoting the idea that forgiveness is possible and that it's not too late will lead to so many lives having the energy to move in the right direction. Therefore, so many less people moving in the wrong direction. And the energy we put out is what we will receive, you know? So sometimes it's not about who started the fight. It's about how do we find peace. And it takes two to tango, you know? It's truly, like, I think that the reason will prevail, you know, and being level-headed and being open will prevail over these, you know, it's ridiculous for people to proclaim these worldviews as if, like, this is what it is, this is the truth. You know, I've lived for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, and I figured it all out. You just got to think like this and be like this and everything will be okay. No, we need to recognize that everyone has a different set of experiences and everyone is responding to a different life, a different human experience, a different set of stimuli, a different set of circumstance. And all of those people are going to come to different conclusions and they're going to adopt different frameworks that help them navigate their individual unique reality. And we need to recognize the value in every individual unique perspective. No matter how misguided or mistranslated or filtered through divisive language it may be, we need to recognize that people's internal compass just wants to feel good and it just wants to feel okay. And if that's leading to something negative, that's leading to something bad, then it's bigger than just casting that person away. You know, there's a way, there's a will, a power in which we can come to mutual understandings. And it is precisely that power that has led to all of the luxuries and amazing innovations that we have today. Yes, we can complain about some freedoms that we've traded off and self-determination seems so far away, but at the same time, so much unnecessary suffering has been defeated. You know, we have the ability to live long, healthy lives. We have the ability to identify our sicknesses and cure them. We have the ability to, you know, reflect on our lives in entirely new ways. And we have the ability to interact with each other and other humans and other ideas at a scale that's just completely brand new. And as we're filtering through this endless library of information, it is ridiculous to pick up a book or write a book and say, this is the one right here. You know, we need to have a holistic, all-encompassing, wide perspective in order to fulfill and survive the consequences of the internet era, of the connection of the minds, the web, the World Wide Web, the web of ideas, the interlocking and interconnected abundance of information. So love, we got to try love. We got to find a way to find the light, to be the light, to see the light, to reflect the light, and if we recognize darkness, the best thing we can do is bring light to it, and shining light upon it will show what needs to be done. But recognizing darkness and saying, you know what, if they're dark over there, I'm going to dim my light too. I'm going to turn my light off. I'm not going to shine my light on that darkness. Well, then we're all an eye for an eye and the whole world goes blind. We must be the light, especially where we see the darkness. Especially, hold yourself to the highest standard when it's the hardest. Be the difference maker. Be the person that allows someone to actually make a change, to actually move an inch or move a yard, And things take time. It's not about having a lucrative social interaction. It's about being in a way where you can plant seeds of light and hope to see them grow, as they will. Woo-hoo. It's like I didn't. 1, 2.